our Facebook Live, our weekly Facebook Live of Conscious World Agents. And my name is Arturo.
And my name is Claudia van Zouden.
And as every week we will talk about a topic we wrote this week about, and this week the topic was about conscious conversations, conscious connections that you can make. Well, if we're honest, then we had a tough week, a lot of work, a lot of things happened, and every time it is then important to make a conscious decision how you want to act, how you want to react, and how you want to respond. And my topic this week was in general, when we run the automatic program, we react, and things outside of us happens, and then it triggers us, and from this trigger, this emotion, this frustration, we react. And with this reaction, there's also, in general, a lot of charge of this emotion in it. And that means that the other person also will see that, will feel it, will recognize it. And what you see then is that the conflict or the confrontation can even be bigger. This week I gave 4 groups training more or less about this. And every time at the end of the training, they said, wow, this is mind-blowing, this is an eye-opener for us. And what was the eye-opener? Well, basically, you can choose how you want to respond. And that has to do with emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence has, it's more or less about 3 rules, or 3, how do you say this, not regulations, how do you say that? Well, rules. Let's say 3 rules. The first one is, how can you handle and deal with your own emotions? How can you deal and handle with the emotions of the other person? And how can you deal with the outside world that you apparently cannot change? And every time when we blame the other person for how you feel yourself, then you also give a lot of power away, because the other person is then in charge how to change this situation. So it's much more, it shows much more leadership if you go back to yourself and see what's the feeling I have now, and how do I want to behave towards the other person, or in general for myself. And once you make that decision, then it's easier not to react from an automatic pilot that comes from the subconscious mind, but more from a conscious decision how to respond to the other person. And that means that, are you going to ask questions or not? Do you want to understand the why from the other person? And every time when you do that, you get information, but also a lot of times understanding for the behavior of the other person. And that helps you also in your own behavior, how to respond then. So every time the question is, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel, and how do you want to, react? And if you want to feel in control over your own emotions, do you want to be the captain of your own ship? If the answer is yes, okay, make a conscious decision that you won't be, for instance, angry anymore, or that you're not going to shout anymore. And what you will see then is that, first of all, the connection with yourself starts to get better, and also the connection with the other person will be better. Well, that's basically what I wrote.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think that also, you also said that came up with the training as well, and people became aware of that.
Yeah.
And there was such an eye-opener for them because it was for work, you said, but also at their homes, in their private lives. They felt like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this also at home, and this is why my wife says you do this. It's like, so, you know, if we are not aware before and it just comes all of a sudden in our awareness, we can have that aha moment, and then often we don't go back to that previous way of communication or reacting, and doesn't mean that it's straight away, but we are more aware of it. And I think that's what we are about also with Conscious World Agents, that we say just become aware of your thoughts, become aware of your patterns and which programs you're running from your subconscious mind. And once you do that, then there is that sort of liberating feeling, like, oh, I can change that, and I have this infinite possibilities at my doorstep of how I'm gonna experience this life. And these moments.
And you're right. It doesn't mean that you won't be triggered. You feel the trigger. But it's the choice how you're going to respond. And think about, how do you feel when you respond, or you reacted with anger, with frustration, and so on? What were the feelings afterwards? A lot of times you feel also then shame or frustration about your own reactions. So if you don't want to have that, make the decision already in the moment. But most of the times it's easier to make the decision before, and that's the conscious decision. Say, okay, whatever happens, I won't get angry anymore. It doesn't mean that you accept everything from another person, but you won't be angry, you won't get angry. That's it. And then the connection, again, it will be much better. Also, the responding connection, reaction from the other person will be totally different.
That is a good chance that might happen.
And we never know upfront what the reaction would be, because that's always unknown now.
I think that's a very helpful tool that we can apply, and I think also very personal. Okay.
Milk.
Nice. We're having a little coffee whilst we're talking with you. So thanks everybody who's watching. Wonderful that you're here. As you saw last week, we didn't have a Facebook Live. That was because it was my birthday. So, and apparently it was behind my back. Some things were organized. So my dear soul sister and her beautiful partner came to surprise me for my birthday here, and we had a lovely afternoon. So I was swept away into nature where I love to be, and we had an amazing afternoon whilst we were watching the European bison and the elk and the wild boar in this nature park. To be honest,
Przewalski horses.
So to be honest, it was totally out of my mind also to be online, but of course I didn't even think of posting like, sorry, we can't do this. I was so in the moment then, and I enjoyed so much my birthday, so that was such a lovely surprise. My post, of course, was also about conscious connections this week, and conscious connections, basically also what you're saying, it's like, we have this choice how we communicate with one another. And it was also a bit of I went into the direction of that we see such a division between people occurring now. This is such a strange time that we're in at the moment, and with so many regulations and so many different opinions about everything, and we see there is a division happening amongst people, and that can be quite confrontational. I hear, I don't really look much on social media as such, but what happened was that there's a lot of things happening in the hall. I'm gonna ask if they can be a little bit And so what it is about, it's all funny, it is. What was it about? About this division, that we have an opportunity to be reactive in that situation as well.
I reacted to them. Shut up. No.
No, you didn't. That, can we stay open, or are we really stuck in our thoughts and say, well, this is the truth and that's how it is, and then we stop and we become reactive because we want to be right. We want to be right because we have made a choice of this is the truth and that's it. But I find, in my experience, when I stay with an open mind and I try to, stay calm and be present and being aware if I want to be writing, I don't know anything basically. I just take on beliefs, on facts that I hear or read about, and therefore I make a choice in, okay, well, that resonates, and that's then all of a sudden going to be my belief. That could depend on the people you hang out with, or what you choose to see on the television if you watch that, or on social media. That then becomes your truth. But is it a truth? And I have found that my beliefs that I had changed often when I stayed open. It was like, I never thought about that. Thank you for sharing that. And then I investigated with discernment in myself and go and maybe do some checkups, reading about it or talking with people about it, if that could be a possible truth. But my conscious communication pose was, can you stay open? Can you stay curious to the other person, or do you close straight away? Because when we do that, then we create such a division. And I believe that that's not why we're here. We are here to realize that we have a universal responsibility to support each other, to be good-hearted people, and to understand and support each other that way. And to understand that we all want to be happy. So you have that opinion because that makes you sort of feel better within yourself. It has facts maybe that resonate with you, but I also have my facts and my beliefs, and that makes me on a certain level happy, So if we can start to see that we all want to be happy, that is our human commonness, we can maybe start to say, okay, so that's what you think, but please be respectful also to what I think, rather than being reactive and getting angry or things like that. Let's stay open and curious and respectful. So rather than becoming angry and getting a huge division everywhere in the world right now, I think that's not helpful at all. So I hinted a little bit into that direction this week. And yeah, I think that was helpful. And like Arturo said, we both had a pretty busy week. And also to have a conscious conversation with yourself. And that came up with me this week as well. Can I stay in conversation with myself? Am I still open what's happening in myself, the things that come up, emotions, feelings? Am I discarding them, or am I thinking, oh, well, that's the truth and that's it? Or am I open also in my own beliefs and in my own truths to new directions? And certain things came up in my week that were quite personal, and that was a very good lesson for me as well. Can I stay open? Can I stay loving? Can I stay caring and without perhaps being reacting on an old pattern as well, or an old pain or things like that? Can I stay open and ask myself continuously, what would love do? What would love do in this situation? And that was really helpful and very needed, also to stay centered and calm. The effect it has then on my body, I can only speak for that, is very beneficial. I had to cancel a few things this week with work, so I checked that within myself. So I cannot do that because I was in a space, I was a little bit tender. And that was really good. So I think that's also very important to have a conscious conversation with yourself. So that's my add-on on this week, and maybe that is something you can look at as well for yourself. That might be helpful because it does help, I believe.
Yeah, beautiful. And with that, you made conscious decisions to, for instance, cancel something.
I cancelled 3 trainings that I was going to give.
So, and when you're in that mode of making conscious decisions, you also make the decision about the priorities. What is more important?
More important. For myself and perhaps for others. So and that gives me then more calmness and that felt good, and I really sit with that rather than keep going and going because maybe of ideas you have. Oh, I can't do that, or then what will they think? Well, tough. Tough.
And one thing you said is also that triggers me. A lot of people want to be right, and with being right, wanting to be right, that also takes you off of being open.
Yeah, because if you're right, you think the other is wrong.
Yeah.
So how open is that?
Yeah.
So if you think the other is wrong, and you just need to think all the time, what can I say next so I can prove my righteousness? Well, what's that all about?
Nice.
So and then you have the duality that again. So yeah, I think staying aware of what you need to be your true self, to be true to yourself. Let's put it that way, and true to the other, and with openness and having conscious conversations around that will also have a good effect on your whole being. Because stress and all that is not helpful. So. Yeah, that was my contribution. So I really wondered if I should actually also be live today. So that was a conscious choice also to do that. I just had a lovely walk before that, and I'm just gonna relax this evening. It will be all good. So we had a topic for next week.
Yeah, the topic for next week will be something about control. A lot of people want to control their life, and why is it good to have control, or maybe are there other ways to, well, let's say, control your life in a different way, and maybe even with better results. We will write about it, and of course we will talk about it next Friday. Thank you for watching again. And we wish you a wonderful weekend, and have a lot of fun, and make some conscious decisions and choices and conversations and connections.
Yeah, and if you feel that there's something you want to share, of course, with your own experience, then we would love to hear that. It is not just about us, it's about all of us. We're in all of it together in this life. And our paths have crossed for some reason. So if you feel there is something you want to share of your experiences that we can learn from, and other people can learn from, or how we can support each other, and how things in the past have helped you in that way, then please share it. We'd love to hear it, and spread the news of how to be conscious people, and that we raise that awareness on the planet, that we become more good-hearted people with the universal possibility of connection rather than separation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And suddenly, the simple quote, because a lot of people think, well, if once I'm conscious, I'm really aware, everything is changing and the world is beautiful. And yes, it is. But the one quote that came up was, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. But you will do it in a different way. You will do it with a different mind. You will do it with a different feeling, with a different look at the same situation. And that makes you aware. That makes why your level of consciousness will rise then. But you still have to carry water. And you still have to chop wood sometimes.
Well, that was a nice ending of this conversation. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. And take good care of yourself. And hopefully see you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.